Hi! Within this section, we're going to learn a very important concept called browser exploitation. So we're going to try and run some commands on the victim's browser. And we're going to use a tool called Beef in order to do that. We're going to run some JavaScript codes, and these JavaScript codes provide you the opportunity to run some alerts, some message boxes on the browser of victim, of course, and this may get dangerous. So you can try to steal the social media passwords with these techniques, and you can try to inject even backdoors to the browser of the user. So now if you're ready, let's get started.
Hi! Within this section, we're going to learn how to use a framework called BEEF. So BEEF stands for Browser Exploitation Framework. So with this tool, we will be able to run JavaScript codes on the target's browsers. So this is a very powerful tool. This is a very powerful framework which lets you run very powerful attacks on the target without giving you too much trouble. So all you have to do actually is let the target click on one link or be a man in the middle and do a JavaScript injection. So we're all gonna see how this is going to work out, how we can actually run Beef framework and how we can hook the target to our Beef framework. And this is a term used in the Beef framework. So when we get the target on our Beef framework, we call it hooking. Okay, we're gonna hook the target on the Beef framework so that we can run commands on their computer, on their browser actually. So if you click over here to show applications, you can search for Beef. So it's spelled like this, B-E-E-F. So you will see three of these icons. All you have to do is just find the Beef start and click on it. If you just see one icon, that's okay as well. You can just start Beef and it will pop up this terminal for you. So when you first open the Beef, it will ask you for a password and username. In fact, the username is Beef, but you have to change the password, so choose a password, write it and hit enter. Even though you won't see the password over here, it will be writing, okay? It's just for security. You won't see it, but you can just type and hit enter. Once you do that, it will open the browser for you, and you will give the username Beef and the password of your choosing over here to log in. So don't forget your password, because you will just use that password you just gave to the terminal to log in. And this is how Beef looks like. We're going to, if you just close this down by accident, or if it doesn't open for you, you can actually come over here and write this address once Beef starts, that so that you can actually reach this Beef framework. So there's not much to tell you about this right now because we don't have a target hooked in yet. So we see the online browsers, we see the offline browsers on the left hand pane, and once we have a target hooked onto the Beef, then we're going to actually do some work over here. Okay, so once we do that, we will see them in the online browsers. So when a browser is online, we will be able to run commands, and when a browser is actually offline, we won't be able to run this command. So in order to do an attack with Beef, the target has to be online and has to be hooked on our Beef. So again, opening this address should be automatic, but I suggest you take a note of this address, so if it doesn't open for a reason, for some reason, after you see this opening web UI log over here in your terminal, you can just open the Firefox and write that address on your own. So what we're interested in here is that this hook and this example. So I talked about the link that our target will click on to be hooked, and this is the link that I'm talking about. Okay, we're going to find ways to inject that script on the target computer, on the target browser, so that they will be hooked on our beef. And we're going to see alternative ways of doing that. One is to create a website and run the script in our website, so when they click on the website, it will be run on their browser as well. And the other way is to be man in the middle and do a JavaScript injection, so without having to go onto our own website, user will be just wandering around in the internet, but we will be injecting the JavaScript along the way. And to use beef, we don't have to be in the same network, by the way, okay? Because we can use this in the outside networks as well. And we will see how to do that in the following sections. There is a section called Fake Game Website Attacks, and within that section we're going to create a server, we're going to create a game for ourselves, and we're going to inject beef to the visitors. And you cannot find such content on the internet right now, so get ready for that section as well. But right now, let's stop here, and within the next lecture we're going to discuss how we can hook the targets on our beef. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how we can hook the target on our beef framework with using a website attack. So we're going to create a website of our own, and we're going to run that script that beef has given to us in that website. And since we are now in the NAT network in both Windows and Kali Linux, then I can actually run my Apache server and use my own Kali Linux web server as a web hosting. And remember, within the next sections, within the following sections, we're going to do that on outside networks as well. But right now we're going to see how to do that inside of the network. So all I have to do is just use this script source in here that is given to me, and take that script and put it in my website in Apache server. So I'm going to write service apache to start, okay? And remember where our server is located in Kali Linux. We have to find it under var www html. So let me go over that location, and let's see what we have in the current directory. So let me open var w html, and over here we have this index.html. We have edited this before. Remember, we had written I hack you in one of the sections. So right now I'm going to edit it one more, because I want to run that JavaScript code in my index.html. So I'm going to open this with text editor. You can just open it with Leafpad or any other editors. So whatever you see here, you can just delete it, okay? And I'm going to write I hack you in a header form as we have done before. So I'm going to say I hack you, okay? So this should be a regular website in a real life attack, so that people won't get suspicious and go back, close it down, okay? But we're going to do a very good example of that in the following sections. So let me run ifconfig and see what my IP is. So my IP is 10.02.8. The reason that I'm looking at this is that when I'm going over in my Windows, I can just come over here and I can write 10.02.8, okay? And this will open up my web server web page for me. So if I hit enter, as you can see, I can reach that website from my Windows machine. But now if I come over here to Beef browser, I won't see any target hooked up, because I didn't run any Beef code, I didn't run any JavaScript code in order to do that. And right now I'm going to do it. So I'm going to come over here to example, okay? I'm going to copy this whole line, starting with script and ending with script, this line, okay? So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come over to my index.html and I'm going to paste it over here. So all I have to change here is that my IP address. So this is now set up to 127.0.0.1, which is my local host. But I want to run this on 10.0.2.8, right? So 10.0.2.8. So this is the IP address of my Kali Linux, not the target. I'm not interested in the IP address of the target. This is the IP address of Kali Linux, and it's running on 3000 port on our Kali Linux. And this will run hook.js. So this is a JavaScript file which will hook the target to our framework so that we can run commands on their browser. So I'm going to save this and close this down. And right now, if I go back to Windows and if I just refresh this, okay, and once I see it opens, then I can go back to my Kali Linux and check if it's hooked or not. Here we go, now it's refreshed. And let me come over here to my Firefox, and as you can see, we have this 10.0.2.4 hooked up in our online browsers. Now I get to run commands on that browser actually, and this is all it takes to hook up a target. So this is very easy, right? You just send a link and target clicks on that link and they're all hooked up, and we can run various numerous codes on that browser. You're gonna see what we can do in a couple of lectures, don't worry. Right now, I just wanted to show you a way of hooking the target up, and within the next lecture, in fact, we're going to discuss the other ways of hooking the target as well, because this is not necessary. We are just learning how to do this inside of the same network. And if you're on the same network, it actually makes sense to do that with man-in-the-middle attack as well. So you can actually skip the next lecture and watch the rest of the section, but I really suggest you don't do that. So please meet me in the next lecture and watch it to learn how to do this with better cap. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how we can hook the target to our framework without having to let them know our link and without having to click on that link. We're going to use a man-in-the-middle attack since we are in the same network, right? And it actually makes more sense to use man-in-the-middle attack, because why? Because when we are in the same network, it doesn't make sense to send a link to anyone. How are we even going to do that? We won't know the email address of the target. We won't know anything about the target. They're just on the same network. So we have to find a better way to do this, a smart way to do this, because we won't be able to send them our actual 10.0.2.8 IP address or any other IP address as well. And for the outside networks, we're going to see much more better ways to do this attack as well later on. So I believe we should master the inside network attacks for beef. So in order to do that, I'm going to use better cap, and then at the end of this section, end of this lecture actually, I'm going to show you how to do the same attack with man-in-the-middle framework as well, so that we can have various options to inject that script that beef has given to us to the target so that we can easily hook them up. So when we do that, we would be man in the middle and the target won't even know they clicked on something, or they won't even know they are hooked. Okay? So let me close this down because we won't be using our website anymore, but rather than we're going to use better cap. So I'm going to run better cap in a way that we always did. So better cap iface eth0. So when we run hap over here, maybe you remember better cap. If you have skipped the better cap lectures, I really suggest you go back and do that, because we will be using better cap in a fast way over here. Okay? So remember, we had to run net.prob on, net.prob of arp.spoof on and everything, but we're not going to do that in this lecture because I have prepared a caplet in order to do this attack in a very better way. Okay, so I'm going to say caplets.show. So remember, what are the caplets? So these are scripts that we run with better cap attacks. And one thing that you don't see over here, we have actually worked with this HSDS hijack, but you don't see this beef custom caplet. So this is the second caplet on my list, and you don't see that because I have written that, and I'm going to share this caplet with the resources of this lecture so that you can actually download and use this. Okay, so this is shown in this list because I have put that on my user share better cap caplets folder as shown in here. So remember, let me come over here to other locations, go to computer, and let me find the user and then share, right? So let's see, yep, share. And then I believe we have to go to better cap and the caplets. And inside of this caplets, we have this beef custom folder. So I'm going to include a zip file. So all you have to do is just download the file and put that folder over here. So after that, you have to open and see those two files, the cap file and the JavaScript file. I'm going to tell you how to edit them and what they do, don't worry. But don't forget to download the folder and put it over here on the same folder. So once you do that, you can open this caplet with leafpad as we have done before. So what this caplet does actually just set the ARP spoof full duplex to true, okay, and set the targets to 10024. So in my case, my target is actually 10024. So you have to edit this. You have to write the target IP over here. So let me take a note over here, okay, so that you won't actually forget. You have to change the target IP from 10024 to whatever you want. So this actually just set the proxy script to beef custom JavaScript. So this actually injects that, runs that JavaScript on the target, and it will just sleep for 1 second and let the codes do their thing. And then at the end of this, it will just turn on the ARP spoofing, so our attack will start. So in fact, all we have to do is just run the better cap with this target. So let me save this. Okay, you will get this final version in your resources anyway. So let me come over here and show you what this JavaScript does. So let me open this with any editor, and here you go. We have this onload function, and this line is actually omittable. So in this case, we have two functions. So if you don't know anything about programming or coding, it's just fine. I'm going to show you where to edit. So if you know a little bit, there is an onload function over here and an onResponse function. So this onResponse function gets called once we get a response from the website. Okay? And once we do that, actually we inject that code, we run this hook.js in this section over here. So all you're gonna do is to edit that HTTP over here. So within the previous caplet, we have written down the target IP, but this time we have to write our own Kali Linux IP over here because this is being run on our own server. So 10.02.8.3000 for me. So if you have another local IP over here, you have to write it over there. So let me save this. Once again, I'm going to zip them up and share with you later on. So I'm going to exit out of this better cap so that I can actually start better cap with the caplet. So I'm going to say iface ETH0 one more time, but this time I'm going to add caplet over here, okay, like that. And I'm going to specify the folder that is that this beef custom.cap resides. So this user share better cap caplets and beef custom, okay. and beefcustom.cap. And this is exactly how you should write this if you have put it in the same folder like me. So in fact, you can just put it on the root and you can just run this with root beefcustom.cap as well. But it's a very good idea to just have all the capitals in the one folder. So here you go. Now it's working. Okay, so let me go to my Windows over here and let me run Google Chrome rather than Explorer, because we have tried Explorer in the previous sections. Now let's try with Google Chrome this time. I'm going to go into the unicornitems.com, which is an HTTP site rather than HTTPS. Of course, it will work in HTTPS as well if you break it down with HSTS hijack caplet, but I didn't want to complicate things at this moment because we have already discussed how to downgrade HTTPS to HTTP in a very broad manner in the previous section. So I'm going to test this on unicornitems.com, or you can just test it on any other HTTP website. Here you go, it works. If I come back to Kali Linux, if I open this up, as you can see, yep, here you go, 10.02.4 is in the online browsers list. But if you get any error over here, or if you cannot make better cap work, or if you cannot make better cap inject that code, you can actually try that with man-in-the-middle framework as well. So we have worked with man-in-the-middle framework, right? And you may want to try to do the same thing with man-in-the-middle framework as well. We are starting with ARP spoof and specifying the gateway and target IPs as usual, and of course with the interface as well. But at the end of this command, you can just add inject JavaScript URL, and you can just write this URL over here. And let me close this down and go back. Here you go. If you run this, this will actually start the man-in-the-middle attack against the target and try to inject that JavaScript URL. So this is the same thing that we are doing with BetterCap, and it's actually easier to do that with man-in-the-middle framework, as you can see. But since now man-in-the-middle framework is deprecated and it's not being updated anymore, we are just making BetterCap our first choice of tool. So I didn't want to start with this. You can actually try this on your own, and you can actually skip the man-in-the-middle lecture as well. You have seen how to hook the target with a link clicking as well, right? So let's go back to our beef. And as you can see, we have this 10.02.4 in the offline browsers as well, because in the previous lecture we have hooked the 10.02.4 one more time. And now it's time to learn how to run commands, how to use the beef in a way that we're supposed to use long time ago, but we have seen how to hook the targets, right? So now we are ready to learn the attacks. So let's do that within the next lecture. Hi, within this lecture we're going to start learning about beef usage and the commands that we have to run. So over here you see the unicornitems.com, and 10.02.4 is actually hooked on our beef, and in the right hand pane now we get other tabs. So over here you can see the logs, and for here, for example, you can see the network map over here. So where is that connection coming from, where is it going to? But what we are particularly interested in is that commands tab, in which we can find the various commands that we can run against that browser, on that browser. Okay, so for example, if you click one of these targets, if you click one of these sections in folders, you can see the various attacks. And once you see the green light, it should mean that, yeah, it's gonna work. And once you see the red light, yeah, it would work, but most probably it won't. So you can actually try numerous ways of attacks over here. For example, we have this spider eye. Okay, so this is spider eye under the first folder. So this takes the screenshot of the target. And if you cannot find spider eye for some reason, you can come over here, and spider is not spelled like SPI, is SPY, okay, spider eye. So when you click on that, you can come over here and just say execute, and it would execute it, and it would get the screenshot of the target. If you click over this attack ID over here, you can see the comment results, and here you go. Now we have taken the screenshot of the target computer, of the target browser. So this is very easy, as you can see. And we managed to hook up the target with a simple link or a simple JavaScript injection with man in the middle, and we can actually take the screenshot of the user within just a couple of seconds. So Beef framework is actually very powerful and it's commonly used by hackers. And remember, once you complete this section, I really suggest you come back here and find the other attacks, other commands, so that you can experience all of them. Of course, I cannot go over one by one because it will take like 30 hours. It will take to make another course just for Beef, but you can just try that on your own time. For example, let me try this alert. So this will create an alert message on the target browser. Okay, so you can actually write whatever you want here, and if you hit execute, it will run this alert dialog on the browser, on the target browser. So it's very easy, right? So we have done that in the man in the middle section with JavaScript injection, but we can actually do that with just one click in the B framework. So it's very powerful, it's very easy. So it makes it dangerous. And we're going to see the details of some of the other popular attacks within the next lecture, and the most dangerous one in the last lecture. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how hackers use Beef in order to steal Facebook and other social media passwords. So you have to search for theft over here, or pretty theft. So we are looking for this attack under social engineering, okay? And in fact, let me show you the social engineering folder, because one of the most popular attacks for Beef is located under this social engineering folders, like the fake notification bar, or we are looking for pretty theft in this case, and we're going to see how to use, when to use this fake notification bar in the next lecture. Don't worry. Okay, so but for right now, I'm interested in this pretty theft. So this is a social engineering method, and it runs a code on the target computer saying that, yeah, your Facebook is now expired, you have to re-log in. Okay, so let me show you how it goes. You can choose the style over here, like gray or white, and you can choose the social media platform, and you can even specify a logo for that, an icon. So in my case, I'm just going to leave this as it is, but in a real life example, you can just download the Facebook or YouTube logo and use it over here. So let me execute this, and here you go. As you can see, it says that your Facebook session timed out. We're not even in the Facebook, but this works. So people actually wandering around the internet, when they see this, they think that, yeah, my Facebook has timed out, so I better log in one more time, like this. So I'm going to say Atil Sam for my email, okay, and for my password, for example, I'm going to say 123456, and I'm going to log in. So once I do that, I can just return to my normal life, trying to wander around the internet. But at the same time, when a hacker taps over here, they can actually see the username and the password that you have just provided. So it's kind of a naive way, it's kind of a weak way, I know, and this is not how hackers actually hack the Instagram and Facebook, but this works as well. So let's do that for YouTube, and you can see the YouTube will pop up over here, and yeah, this has to be some kind of bug, so we cannot see the logo of YouTube, and actually you can just download the YouTube logo and provide it yourself as you have seen before, so it would look like much more professional attack. Okay, and like I said, this is not how it's done in the real life. So this is being used by hackers as well. So you better know how to use pretty theft. But we're going to discuss how hackers use social media engineering, social engineering tools in order to run Instagram or any other social media platform passwords. But the main idea over here is that Beef actually provides us more tools than we can imagine. So it doesn't just go over here and try to run some commands on the browsers, run some JavaScript codes on the browser. It actually provides us social engineering tools as well, so that we can get as much as information possible from the target. So this is kind of a dangerous tool, like I said before. And we're going to see the most dangerous attack of Beef in the next lecture. Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how we can make the target download a backdoor and start it using Beef and some other social engineering tools in order to gain full access of the target computer. Because with Beef, we can actually run some JavaScript codes on the browser, on the target browser, but it has some limits. We cannot get full access to the user computer, to the target computer, using JavaScript codes, running JavaScript codes on some browser. And if we do that, if we actually send a backdoor to the target and make them run, we can actually get full control, full access to the target computer. So that's what we're going to learn within this lecture. And in order to do that, we have a fantastic tool under social engineering. So we have this fake notification bar for other for various browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer. Now over here, as you can see, it displays a fake notification bar in the browser saying that, yeah, you have to install an additional plugin to make your experience better, or you can just say something like, yeah, you have to install this update in order to wander around the internet, in order to make your computer more secure. Yeah, there is a new update, you have to install this if you want to continue using your laptop, if you want to continue using your Chrome, whatever you want. Okay, and you provide the URL to download, to be downloaded on the target computer. So this is cool, right? So we get to provide the exe file that user will download from that fake notification bar. So the better cap is still running and we want it to be so. So I'm not going to close this down, but minimize this. And I'm going to come over here and say zoom in so that we can see it better. So we're going to create a new backdoor for ourselves. And you can actually use the same backdoor that we have previously created in the previous sections. But I'm going to create it from scratch. So I'm going to use Wheel, and I'm going to do this very quick since now you know how to do that, right? I'm going to use the 14th one more time since it should be running. It worked in the previous sections, right? I'm going to say L host is 10.028, and for L port I'm not going to go for 8080 this time, rather I'm going to go something like 5050 or 4040 because the 8080 might be actually in use for B framework. So in order not to take any risk, I'm going to go for 4040. And I'm going to set the processors and sleep in order to avoid at least the antivirus solutions a little bit, okay? And I will generate this payload, and you can name this something like install plugin so that it would be much more convincing for the target. And as I said before, I did this very fast. I assume you know how to run backdoors, how to generate backdoors with wheel. If you have skipped the previous sections for social engineering, I suggest you go back and watch it. Okay? Well, and you can actually use the same backdoor that we have done in the previous sections as well, but I wanted to create it from scratch, so that I have some backdoor with a different port at least, so we can try with this with a different port. So I'm going to exit out of this one, and I'm going to run my Apache server. Okay, say service Apache to start, and let me come over here and find the output of that wheel and move that exe file to my web server. So I'm going to go over to computer and var. I believe it's located under lib. Yep, and let's find wheel. Here you go, wheel, and the output and the compiled. So here you go, we have this installed plugin exe. Let's move to var w html, and we can actually go for backdoors as well. Yeah, let's do that, and let's be structural and organized. I'm going to put this under backdoors. So let me close this down, and in fact, now I'm ready. I believe I can just run MSF console here, because I need a listener, right? So I need to listen for incoming connections before I send that exe file to the target. So this will pop open the Metasploit framework for me, and I'm going to use the multi-handler that we have used before. So let me come over here, and I'm going to delete this URL over here, right? So I'm just going to provide what I have done previously. So I'm going to say 10.02.8 because that's my IP address, right? And I'm going to do a /, and I'm going to write backdoors because that's where I put my install plugin exe, and I'm going to say install and plugin.exe. Don't forget the underscore. And here you go. So the once I execute this, the target will download from the notification bar, and when they run it, we would get the full access for their computer. So let me execute this. And here you go. This is our fake notification bar. As you can see, this looks legit. So anyone can fall for that. You can just they can just click over here to install missing plugins, and it will download that exe file for us. And they're wandering around the internet, they're using Chrome, and yeah, I should have listened that connection before I run it. So let me come over here and just write use exploit multi-handler. Remember, we use this multi-handler in order to listen for that kind of payload incoming connections. Okay, so I'm going to set the payload to Windows Interpreter reverse HTTP. And remember, our backdoor was reverse HTTP, so if you have used something like reverse TCP or reverse HTTPS, you should write so over here, right? But in my case, it's reverse HTTP. I'm gonna see the options. Yep, we're gonna change the L host to 10.02.8, which is my Kali Linux IP, and I'm going to set the L port to 4040, and I'm going to listen. Yep, I'm going to say exploit. So this will start listening for the incoming connections, and if you didn't understand what I'm doing over here, and again, I really suggest you go back and watch the social engineering and backdoor sections. So I'm going to run this right now, and once I do that, user will think they're actually installing a plugin, but when they run that, so this says that Windows protected your PC, but it says for any exe file, okay? So if users say yes, it will just start running, right? Like this. And once we see this, we can go back And here you go, we have the connection. Now we hacked in to the target computer. I'm not gonna go over how to use meterpreter over here because that's another section for us. And you have seen the fake notification bar and other methods and other commands that you can use with this beef. As you can see, this beef can get very dangerous, and I really suggest you come over here and try these other commands on your spare time in order to learn and comprehend beef in a much better way. But that's it for right now. We're going to see how to run beef on an outside network after a couple of sections with a fake game website. So that's going to be interesting as well. So let's stop here and meet in the next section. Hi, within this lecture we're going to discuss how we can make ourselves safe against these beef attacks. Of course, best way to prevent these attacks is to stay away from the URLs that we don't know. So if you're suspicious about these URLs that may contain some harmful codes, then just stay away. And if you really want to, if you really need to go, you can adjust your browser settings not to run JavaScript codes at all. But most people don't prefer that because it may distort the views and the usage of the other regular website as well. So if you download any file from a message box in a website, you should check for it. For example, this is the backdoor that we have created. This is the Trojan, in fact, we have created. And as you can see, it doesn't have the extension of JPEG, but it pretends to have this. So if I click on this and say properties, it will display that this is an application rather than a JPEG. If you download something thinking that it was an update, and if your antivirus detects it, then just don't run it. If it pretends to have another extension, then don't run it. Okay, so this is the basics. And of course, if you're on the same network with a hacker, if you're on a network that you don't know actually, suppose you're on a cafe, you're on a restaurant using the restaurant's Wi-Fi, then you should check for ARPA like we did before, because beef is very effective on the same network attacks. So you can check to see if your router has the same MAC address as one of the other MAC addresses in the same network. Then you would be under man-in-the-middle attack. And you know all of this stuff, but it's hard to practice them in the real life. Since now you're studying this ethical hacking cybersecurity stuff, I think you should be more aware of yourself, of these hackers, of these attacks in a daily life situation as well. So let's stop here, and within the next lecture, we're going to discuss how we can run backdoors on the outside network attacks.
Hi, now you know how to use beef, how to inject JavaScript codes to the victim's browser, how to hook them on your beef control panel, and how to run beef commands in order to steal some passwords or try to inject some backdoors to the user. Now, if you're ready, let's move on to the next section and discuss how we can run some backdoor attacks on the external network.